Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Beatsmith music.
Welcome to the tomb that we call the Pharaoh NFL channel, man. Welcome everybody, man. I am Juice, man. I'm feeling good today. Praise. We haven't talked about the Raiders and Texans. We're gonna talk a little bit about that, the latest and greatest with the Raiders. And obviously my co-host is gonna join me. He's backstage, but let me get to the chat, man. I appreciate everybody pulling up. What we got Daniel Kim in the house, man. Appreciate you coming through. Yo, it's about that time. It's two Raiders time. Hey, man, you already know. Raider Ben is in the building. Was good, man. Appreciate you pulling up. And Digital Prez, the Prince has arrived. What's good, man? Appreciate you coming through, man. This dude's doing big things over there on his channel. Make sure to subscribe, as well as Raider Ben. I forgot to mention that as well, man. But, hey, man, you know what? I'm not going to waste no time, man. I'm going to bring in my co-host, man. What's good, man? Raider Ray, what's good, man?
Yo, what's good, bro?
Man, hey, man, like I said, man, I'm excited to talk football today, man. We didn't get a chance to really talk about the Raiders and Texans. We'll talk a little bit about that today. Some trades, some rumors, and
but before we get to all that, you need to hit up every single elevator company in the nation, and they need to get on your music because, boy, you got me backstage, and that music has me vibing.
Hey, man. Hey, speaking of music, you know what? I forgot, man. We got to put something smooth in the background while we chop it up, man. While we chop up football right now. Come on, let's
There we go.
Let's slow you down because we do got
good show lined up for you guys, man. We got some juice, we got energy today, and we got a big matchup against the New Orleans Saints. We're traveling to New Orleans, and man, Raider Nation, this is a time to be fired up because the Raiders, they put one brick down, man, and it's another week. We got to stack another brick on top of another, and we got a big matchup in New Orleans.
LV Maximus in the building. He says Raiders. I mean, he didn't spell it like it, but I knew exactly what he meant, man. I know exactly what he meant. D Menace says salute, Pharaoh, man. Appreciate you coming through, man. My God, man, always showing love, supporting, man. LV, he's shouting you out too as well, man. LV Maximus, he's a real one. I actually met him in Vegas when I went to the NFL draft. A real good dude, big time Raider fan. Alex Marquez says, "What's good, man? Hey, appreciate you pulling up, brother. It's been a minute, man. I felt like I haven't seen you. Hey, he noticed it too. Hey, that music is fire. Hey, man,
is fire, boy.
I gotta add a little something. You know what I mean? Hey, we do talk about football, but I gotta do something just to spice it up just a little bit. You know what I mean? But hey, look, like I said, we got a lot to talk about today. We haven't really had a chance to talk about, you know, the Raiders. You know, I said Texas.
Raiders and Texans matchup.
Let me just fix that real quick. But y'all know what I meant, man. Raiders and Texans. What do you think about the last game? The Raiders came out with a big W. They were able to pull away late. How do you feel about last game?
Hey, listen, man, this is why we do what we do. And I think that the time that we put, not even on camera doing our preview shows, but all the studying and all the film watching behind the scenes, it really came to pass last week. We talked about the Tampa 2. We talked about how Derek Carr struggles. He does the check downs. But we also pointed out areas where we can attack this defense, really getting onto the ground, creating an identity on the ground game. The Raiders continued to build off of that. We talked about getting play action, Devontae Adams over the middle of the field. We've seen that happen. And then we talked about the Tampa 2 aspect of attacking the Texans down the seam. Specifically, we talked about getting Mac Hollins involved and attacking the seam with Mac Hollins, him being a big body wide receiver. You're missing Darren Waller. That is a weakness, a part of that Tampa 2 defense. And what did we see, man? We seen the Raiders go out there and strike with Mac Hollins across the seam. We seen Josh Jacobs get it done on the ground. And really, we're seeing a Raiders offense who's really finding an identity. And moving forward, you got to feel good if you're a Raiders fan about the Raiders offense.
Facts, 100%, man. Like right now, we didn't really expect it to be like this. Let's be honest. Like the whole offseason, we're kind of getting ready for this explosive passing game, and our passing game is improving slowly but surely every game. But it's really the run game. The run game has been like the best part of our offense, everything has been through Josh Jacobs, and the guy is the MVP of the team so far this season. Man, what can we say about him, man? Like the guy's dominating the NFL right now. I think you could actually say that eventually he could there's a good chance he could lead the league in rushing if he keeps this up.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
That's not on pace to break 2,000 yards.
Exactly, because if you think about it, he would have been leading the league rushing if we didn't have that bye week. I think he's number 3. He was number 3 even though we had a bye week coming into the Texans game. So, it's a lot to like about what's going on with the offense, especially with Josh Jacobs.
And it's
hopefully
not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, I know everybody this whole offseason, we were all fired up about the weapons on the offensive side, the wide receivers. But to have an identity, for your identity to be the run game with Josh Jacobs, there's nothing wrong with that. You look at all the teams outside of the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs, there's an emphasis on being able to run the football. And the teams that are able to run the football right now are teams that are finding ways to win. So if the Raiders can find an identity and really let this offense, this passing offense, we've been talking about it over here on this channel when it comes down to game planning and matchup, continue to run the rock and let your offense stem off of that foundation that you built. You know what I mean? Like, if your foundation is running the ball with Josh Jacobs, then that's cool. If that's what allows you to win football games, then move forward with that as the focal point of your offense.
Yeah, facts. Even Daniel Kim, he pointed out, man, you were right about them attacking the seams, man. Yeah, facts, 100%.
Yeah.
They ran a lot of coverage.
Man, that ain't nothing else. It's nothing else.
Hey, man, talk your stuff, man.
Yeah, that's
talk
it.
Your stuff. Daniel Kim also said Hollins definitely came through with a great catch, definitely. And that was a great throw by Derek Carr, by the way. That was a great throw. And Derek Carr, man, he's getting better. He started off the year, in my opinion, I felt like his accuracy was off. But slowly but surely, I think as he's getting more comfortable with the offense, he's getting better and better. I still think that the passing game still needs to improve, along with Derek Carr and the receivers getting on the same page. There's still some things that they need to work out. But that being said, we don't have to worry about that because we got Josh Jacobs carrying this offense, man. That's all we need.
No, and I'm also excited because the fact that I feel like Carr's pocket awareness and his ability to step up in the pocket has been improving game by game. Like early on, you could tell after he got injured and he took a play off, he kind of struggled and looked a little stiff. But man, those lights came back on. The offense started getting going. Josh Jacobs was running the rock, and Derek Carr was able to make plays with his legs and to get creative inside the pocket. If you guys remember the Indianapolis Colts game last year with the game on the line, the pass that he landed with Hunter Renfrow, his ability when the pocket broke down to step up into traffic and make a dime, he did that again this game. And you got to really give your hats off to Derek Carr because each week he is getting better in this offense.
Facts, 100%. And D Menace says Prison Mac is a beast.
I want Prison Mac. Give him a life sentence in the silver and black. I want Prison Mac every single week. Nothing else. Give me Prison Mac.
Hey, it's funny. I forgot who it was. A content creator. He called Hollins Encino Man. If you know, you know.
Oh, Encino Man. Hey,
the dude walking barefooted out here, man. He's Encino Man. Queen Waiterette is in the building, man. I appreciate you pulling up. What's good? How you doing? We got Hanging with Cheesehead. What's up, man? I appreciate you pulling up. I think it's my first time seeing you, man, so I appreciate you coming through. Man, if y'all haven't subscribed, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. The road to 1K continues. I'm trying to get to that magical number. And also subscribe to my boy Raider Ray. We do a weekly show, as you guys can see. So if you guys want to see us, you got it. We switch it up every week. So it's going to be next time you see me, it's going to be on his channel. So you want to make sure you subscribe to Raider Ray as well. And my mods, if you can, please go ahead and post some links. Make it easy for everybody in the chat. We got Diego. Diego says here from RFS channel. What's up, yo? Hey, man, I appreciate you coming through. Yes, real fan sports. They're coming through. They're coming through today, and they're going to be talking about the Saints, and which we're going to be talking about. I think one half of that podcast team over there is a Saints fan. Zach, I believe, is a Saints fan, but we can't have too much Saints fans here. I think that his co-host is a Raiders fan, so we'll be talking about the preview. So we'll get into that. I believe they're going to be pulling up in a little bit, but before we get into that, man, let's talk about what happened today. You know what I mean? There was some news that was happening. Nose tackle, D tackle Hankins was traded. How do you feel about that trade?
I'm cool. I know a lot of people were kind of up in the air about it and kind of felt a type of way about it, but I think by this point it's week 7. Hopefully your rookies have been putting in the work behind the scenes. They haven't got a ton of game reps, but hopefully over the course of these last 7 weeks, they've really developed. And to my personal opinion, I think Andrew Billings really took Johnathan Hankins' role. With Johnathan Hankins being a run stuffing nose tackle, offers nothing really when it comes to pass rush. He's getting older, has dealt with injuries. I feel like Andrew Billing has stepped in nicely and really he's kind of balled out for this defensive line. I'm not going to lie. And then you got Kendall Vickers kind of emerging. So you've got a few pieces there, but I don't necessarily think the Raiders are done. I do expect them to go out there and add a defensive tackle, which is why I think you make this move. And the fact that you get a 6th and a 7th round pick, I mean, at least you got something for him. So overall, man, I'm not worried about it. I don't think losing Johnathan Hankins moves the needle by any stretch of the matter of fact. I think the nose tackle position is a crucial part with this Patrick Graham defense, but the linebackers being able to be disciplined and gap control, staying in their lanes and getting after the running backs and making good, solid tackles, that's where we make our bread and butter when it comes to run defense.
It's interesting that you said that you feel like they're going to make a move at D tackle, and then I seen a rumor out there that Daron Payne from the Washington Redskins is possibly available. Do you think that's a move that can possibly happen? You know what I mean?
Look. Here's when you're starting about talking about trading for big defensive tackles. Now, would I like the talent? Of course, I'd like the talent. However, there are Raider rumors about going out and getting a right tackle in Jack Conklin, and if you go out and get a defensive tackle like Daron Payne. Look, these guys are both coming on into contract years. So if you make that trade for them and say you give up a 4th, like if the Raiders go out and make a move, they have full intentions of re-signing these guys. I think with Josh Jacobs playing the way he's playing, if the Raiders do have it in mind to extend him, you got to be careful about the superstar players that you bring in because there's only so much salary cap. And I want to reward the players that are currently on the roster and who have been with us the entire offseason and for years past. So a guy like Josh Jacobs. Daron Payne is going to hover around that $15 million a year mark. Jack Conklin, if he comes in and has a big year, he's going to get paid like, a top 10 right tackle, top 15 player at his position. So that's going to come with the price tag. So I think you got to be a little bit careful. But if you're willing to give these guys up, say you're trying to go on a run this year and you're willing to give up a 4th, because the Raiders have a ton of picks. So they have a lot of wiggle room. If you're looking at a 1-year insurance plan and your hat is all in to go on this run, we'll see what the Raiders plan on doing.
Facts, man. I think if they do go after a D tackle, it has to be a pass rush and D tackle. I mean, they got plenty of run stoppers, and I think that's, in my opinion, like they felt comfortable trading a Hankins, a guy that they took if you guys remember, like they took a while to sign Hankins. Hankins was signed really late in free agency, so it wasn't a guy that they kind of circled early on to bring back from the previous regime. It was just a guy like, you know what? There is a little bit of familiarity there with Patrick Graham, so that's why they brought him back. But he's getting up there in age. He's getting hurt. He's not the same guy that he used to be. And Andrew Billings was a starter. He was playing well. And then you drafted a Neil Farrell, so that's another guy right there that was slowly but surely getting on the field. So it made sense to me, in my opinion. I mean, you're not going to bring him back. I mean, it's not a guy he literally didn't dress against the Chiefs. He didn't play against the Chiefs.
Right. And there's a few months ago, I mean, I made videos about it on my channel that I expected Johnathan Hankins to be replaced. He only lasted a year in that Patrick Graham defense out in New York before they got rid of him and released him. I knew it wasn't necessarily Patrick Graham's favorite. They didn't necessarily know what they had in Andrew Billings at the time. And then they go out and they draft 2 defensive tackles, which tells you how they felt about that position. I just think this is a case of your young guys are starting to get better. They're getting better reps in practice is what that's telling me. And that potentially the Raiders are going to go out there and make a move to upgrade the pass rush on the interior of this defense.
Yep, I already know, man. I was checking out your content, man. I seen you wearing a Raider hat, man. So much respect to you, man. Definitely glad to have you on the show, man. Raider fans are always welcome on this channel. And I seen someone over here in the chat said they are. Diego, come on, man. This is how we start out, man, as a Bronco fan.
Diego, come on.
I'm not even going to talk too much stuff to you because at the end of the day, like, you're suffering over there in Denver right there with with Russell Wilson struggling and just right now Denver is they're not looking too good. And I'm hearing that
the Raiders' problems are very small right now. That's how I feel.
Exactly. Bradley Chubb might get traded too. Man, you know what? I'm glad. Let's put it this way. I'm glad I'm a Raider fan. And White Tyson has a message. He says, sub to Ray. Yeah, make sure to sub to my boy Ray, man. He's puts fire content. Like I said, we have a weekly show, so you want to make sure you subscribe to both channels. And then White Tyson's Conklin would, man,
It'd be an upgrade. It'd be an upgrade.
But that being said, just to piggyback off what we were talking about the Raiders and Texans game, hey, the O-line's balling.
They are. They're
finally
balling. An identity, you know.
I know I was talking about Josh Jacobs being a monster, but them holes that Josh Jacobs was running through were huge, man. Like whether
what the Raiders are scheming up on film, Pharaoh, is what makes it special because they're simplifying the game up front. You got guys moving the line of scrimmage, resetting the line, 3 yards off of the ball. You've got, okay, so let me kind of get into what the Texans were doing. On third down, they were bracketing Hunter Renfrow. They were dragging Hunter Renfrow to attack the middle of the field, so it was drawing coverage away from the outside of this defense. So the Raiders would scheme Josh Jacobs to attack the outside boundaries of the Houston Texans defense and really match up Josh Jacobs with those DBs and really force DBs. Look, DBs don't want to get in there and tackle Josh Jacobs. Let's just keep it a buck.
Right.
That's not necessarily something that you want to sign up for. You want to get interceptions and pass breakups and go and do your job. You don't want to go head up against Josh Jacobs when you're a defensive back. And that's what the Raiders did really good about scheming Josh Jacobs last week. So moving forward against the Saints defense, and I'll save what the Saints are doing defensively here for a moment, but there's going to be opportunities for the Raiders to do the same thing against the New Orleans Saints.
Okay, cool, man. And we're gonna you know what? Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it. I mean, okay. Especially because we kind of got into the Texans game. I know a lot of people are they're excited. The Raiders got a big time win. Last time we've got a blowout win. I mean, I can't even remember. I mean, it's been a while, even though technically it wasn't a blowout because it was like literally it was a close game until the fourth quarter. But you know what? You can't complain because this whole season we've been losing games in the fourth. Like every time we got into the fourth, we couldn't finish, and we finished. Did we finish? We finished strong. You know what I mean? We scored, I think 21-0 in the fourth quarter.
Anytime the Raiders are putting up 21 points in the fourth quarter, I'm taking it.
100% facts. Let's get into it, man. Raiders versus Saints, man.
Okay.
How do you feel about this Saints offense, man?
Saints offense is tricky, man. I mean, say what you want about the quarterback position. It's not just the quarterback positions. It's everything that they've got around the quarterback. That's the issue. You've got an Alvin Kamara who can do it all. He can line up in the slot. He gets involved behind the line of scrimmage. He can attack the defenses north, but he can also attack you east to west. He is a do-it-all type of running back. You have to circle his name. You have to know where Alvin Kamara is at all time. If the Raiders' run defense can show up against the Saints, really load up that box, be clean and efficient at tackling, really play well in space when it comes to defending the pass against Alvin Kamara. The Raiders have an opportunity to slow down the Saints offense, but let's just not stop with Alvin Kamara because that's not where this offense stops. They've got a Chris Olave, rookie wide receiver out of Ohio State, who's a really good wide receiver. Michael Thomas is dealing with an ankle injury. We'll see if he's good to go for the game. I don't expect him to go, and if he does, a high ankle sprain, I don't think we're going to get Michael Thomas at 100%. Taysom Hill, this is a guy you have to make sure you have a hat on and know where he's at all times. You're going to get, look, Raider Nation, you're going to get the best version of the Saints this game. They're 2-5. They've had player-only meetings. You've got middle linebacker. They're captain of the defense. You've got Alvin Kamara addressing the team, saying, hey, we got to step it up. You're going to get absolutely everything from the Saints this game. And so be ready for a Taysom Hill to go in there. Be ready for an Andy Dalton to be primed and focused. And I know we say Andy Dalton, and you're kind of like, Ray, what are you talking about? Andy Dalton, what are we worried about him for? You go into a Davis Mills game with the Texans in that first half, he actually looked good. Don't sleep on Andy Dalton when he's got all these weapons, and all he has to do is distribute the football. I think the Raiders really have to get after Andy Dalton. But keep a hat on Taysom Hill. Keep a hat on Alvin Kamara. And another guy you got to look out for is Rashid Shaheed. This guy is a burner. And in the last 2 games, he's touched the ball twice on the offense and has 2 touchdowns. One game, it was 1 rush for 44 yards and a touchdown. The second was 1 reception, 53 yards and a touchdown. The guy has takeaway speed and is a playmaker when the ball in his hands. So Raiders defense has to show up, play disciplined football, and be ready for everything that the New Orleans Saints has to throw at them.
Oh, yeah, most definitely, man. And, just to piggyback off what you said about the Saints offensively, they're literally eighth ranked passing offense yards per game, 8th ranked rushing offense. They're literally like top 10 in almost every offensive category if you really think about it, like top 10 in red zone, top 10 in third down. Like offensively, I was kind of surprised, especially with the issues they've had at quarterback. with Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston being hurt. So, and that's another thing too. We don't really know who we're going to get this week as far as the quarterback. There's still, and that might be an issue for us defensively. You know what I mean? For the Raiders, I should say, Patrick Graham, like who is he going to be gaming plan for? You know what I mean? Is Winston going to be healthy? And that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on during the week when the injury reports come out. But man, it's there. This is going to be a high scoring game.
And let me be honest, that's not something that I'm too fired up about. I would rather go into this game knowing, hey, Andy Dalton is the guy. Preferably, I want Andy Dalton to be in there. I just think he lacks mobility, and if you can kind of keep him inside of that pocket and let your pass rushers kind of get home a little bit, really, Pharaoh, it's going to be winning on first down. If you can force this team, it's kind of been the story of how the Raiders have had a winning formula. You've got to stop these teams early. You've got to be able to stop the run and create third and longs. If you can create third and longs, look, the Saints are a really proficient offense when it comes to third down efficiency. So you've got to create third and longs and make it as hard as possible on them. You've got to allow Chandler Jones and Max Crosby to pin their ears back. I know Chandler Jones has been a little bit underwhelming in the sack category, but the sack category doesn't paint the entire picture, Raider Nation. Run defense, setting a good edge, opening things up for Max Crosby. Those things are all important, and especially when the Raiders have a high blitz percentage, the Raiders have got to win early and often.
Yeah, facts 100%. And, you know, I'm kind of worried, too, because the reason why I say it's a high-scoring game is because we seen what Davis Mills did against his secondary. Imagine going against a really speedy Chris Olave in this receiving core, because the receiving core is actually pretty good. It's pretty solid. It's underrated. Explosive, exactly. Is Michael Thomas healthy? Is he playing this game?
Okay, so I'm waiting on the injury report, obviously, but he's dealing with a high ankle sprain, which is pretty significant when you're talking about a player who predominantly has a really powerful slant route that he runs. I mean, that's essentially his go-to attack is that slant with how big and physical he is of a receiver. And with a high ankle sprain, if that ankle isn't 100%, he's going to be asked to do a lot of hard cuts. So if he's not 100%, I don't expect him to go this week. But even with Michael Thomas being out, look, they're creative with getting Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, Chris Olave. They still have weapons that you have to look out for. Don't sleep on this New Orleans Saints offense. I know that they're beat up and they're hurt at the wide receiver position, but they can still attack you in a multitude of ways.
White Tyson says, Andy Dalton was my QB2 in fantasy this week.
Hey, look, Andy Dalton throwing touchdowns. Even if it's more touchdowns to the Cardinals than it is to the Saints, that boy's still efficient, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Let's get into the defense, because we're gonna have Real Fan Sports come through in a second. I'm gonna send them a link. I forgot to send them a link, but I'm gonna send it to them right now. But let's get into the defense, man, because we know their offense is pretty good. Just looking at the film, just watching the game, watching them play, they can score. You know what I mean? And but on defense, though, that's where you kind of see why they're 2-5. You know what I mean? There's a reason why they're 2-5, and in my opinion, like if you look at their defense, man, like they regressed. They're not the same defense they were before. They're literally the second worst scoring defense in the league. I think they give up about 28 a game, which is crazy. And we're gonna have Real Fan Sports talk about his team, so he's gonna really tell us what it is. I mean, he's real honest, so we're gonna let him talk about it. And I'm gonna send him a link. And Ray, if you want to let everybody know what you're talking about.
Let me just address what I've been watching on film specifically about the Saints defense. And look, they're going to be running a ton of single high safety. So when you get split safeties, Raider Nation, always look for it. When you get the split safety matchup with this Las Vegas Raiders offense, look for the pass. When you get this single high safety and they want to load up the box, because with the Raiders having an identity with Josh Jacobs running the football as effective as he is, you're going to start seeing defenses game plan to specifically take Josh Jacobs out of the game and force Derek Carr to win the game with his arm. That's not necessarily a bad thing, Raider Nation, because once you get loaded boxes and one-on-one coverages with guys like Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow, with this Raiders offense starting to click and actually find a groove in the passing game, look out. You have to continue to run the rock against the Saints. It's going to be a little bit tougher of a matchup, but you're still going to be able to attack them on the ground. And I do think that through the air, a guy like Devontae Adams, for example, Justin Jefferson had 147 receiving yards. DeAndre Hopkins in his first game back after serving a suspension, 103 yards. Jamar Chase, 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, even a Laviska Shenault, 90 yards and a touchdown. So they are being exploited when it comes to defending the pass. They're having a hard time of tackling. They're missing a lot of tackles on defense. So that bodes well for a guy named Josh Jacobs. You line him up and really you say, hey, our offensive line and our running back is better than your defensive players. You run it at him, create one-on-ones on the outside with Hunter Renfrow. I think Hunter Renfrow is going to have a really good game this week. And also I think Devontae is going to have over 100 as well. So it's going to be a fun game, man. I really think that this is going to be a high-scoring affair.
And they do have a lot of injuries in the secondary too. You know,
Yeah.
Martian Lattimore, I think Paula Debo, and I think Ronald Darby just went on IR. So this is an opportunity for Derek Carr to actually, you know, exploit this game. And it's going to be interesting how this defense, especially how they're going to be motivated, because they know that they've underperformed this season.
Oh yeah.
You've mentioned early on the show, you said that, you know, they had like a players only meeting, or they had, at least Demario Davis came out and he had like a lengthy speech and talk about how, like, you know, the team was underperforming. And, you know, guys like him, team leaders, like they're kind of like upset. So this is going to be a tough game on the road. I'm not going to lie. I did say it's going to be a high scoring game, but you know they're going to be motivated on the road in New Orleans. It's going to be a tough game, man. That's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, we're getting them at their best, Raider Nation. So don't expect another Houston Texans game. This is going to be a tough game. We're going to get the best of the New Orleans Saints, both offensively and defensively. Make no mistake about that.
What I thought was interesting, they don't even blitz a lot. They don't blitz a lot. And, you know, and I know we were mentioning this before the show started. That's not like really a good thing for a guy like Derek Carr, because he likes when teams blitz, because he likes to take them apart. But if you can pressure Derek Carr with 4, you know what I mean, it could be a long game. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing with that. If they're going to back off in coverage like that, if Josh Jacobs starts getting the ball moving effectively on the ground, they're not going to want to just back up. They don't want to back up, because the problem is they're beat up in their secondary. And if you ask these guys to back up and cover, I don't think they have the coverage ability right now to go man-on-man with the Raiders. You're going to have to bracket Hunter Renfrow, whether on third down. I mean, that's what the Texans were doing. I mean, they fully expected Derek Carr to go to third and Renfrow. And to talk about Hunter Renfrow for a second, have you ever seen a wide receiver slide on his knees and catch a football as much as Hunter Renfrow? I'm about to call him Hunter Safe Renfrow. That boy slides like he's in baseball.
For real. Well, he's not a big guy, man. So like
I get it, but it's like every catch that boy is sliding on his knees.
Yeah. And he got hit in the head too on that play too. He was kind of mad. If you seen after the play, he was kind of pointing at his head, looking at the referee. But yeah, man, like this is gonna be a tough game. It's gonna be on the road against the Saints. It's gonna be a high scoring affair. Our defense is still a concern, obviously, based off the Texans game. You see how Davis Mills is picking us apart, and we just went over how, you know, this is a high scoring Saints offense. Like, by the numbers that they're actually doing pretty well offensively. Defensively, on the other hand, they're giving up a lot of big plays. But you know, surprisingly, they're good on third down, which is weird.
They're a top unit on third down, which that's why I'm saying the Raiders have to make it as difficult as possible. They've got to put them in those third and long situations if they really want the best chance to find success on Sunday.
Real Fan Sports, man. I sent the link if you want to go ahead and check your IG, and we can talk and we can ask some questions, man, because I know you're a big Saints fan, and then, you know, we're gonna gang up on you because it's a lot of it's gonna be Raider fans in here, man. But yeah, man.
Since week 4, though, I just kind of want to touch it before they get in here. They've allowed 28 points, 32 points. So 28 points to Minnesota, 32 points to Seattle, 30 points to Cincinnati, 30 points to Arizona.
Yeah.
So with the Raiders finding their groove and rhythm on offense and finding an identity, if they can consistently run the football, I'm looking for another high-scoring affair. I think the Raiders can have back-to-back weeks of putting up 30 points.
Okay. So since we got into it, we kind of got into it real quick because we know we got some guests coming through. So we just wanted to give our thoughts a little bit, and then we're going to talk to them and ask them questions about the Saints. But that being said, let's what are your thoughts, man? Scores.
This is going to be a high-scoring one. I mean, I've got this thing like 34-30. That's where I've got it. Raiders 34-30, 34, 31, 27. I think it's going to get up into the 30s. So,
yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think this is going to be a point where whichever defense comes up with the crucial stop the most, and hopefully the Raiders defense can get another turnover, whether it be a Daron Harmon, whoever the case may be. The Raiders have to find a way to get their hands on the football and give their offense a chance to go up there and put points on the board, because I feel like the defense that doesn't show up is ultimately going to lose this game.
Facts. And so your player of the game or player
offensively,
like it's going to contribute to the win?
Offensively, I'm going to actually say Hunter Renfrow. I think he has a good matchup. I think there's going to be a lot of attention on Devontae. I think there's going to be a lot of attention on Josh Jacobs. Let's face it, they're the primary weapons of the Raiders offense. Not to say that Hunter Renfrow is going to have the most receiving yards, but I think he's going to come up in crucial situations. Third down, I think you're going to get a lot of opportunity to find him in those soft intermediate throws in the middle of the field. And also in the red zone this week. I wouldn't be too surprised if he gets back to getting creative with his route tree and finding a way to score. So Hunter Renfrow around that 70-yard mark and a touchdown, but I think it's going to be the effectiveness of those catches. They're going to be at crucial moments, I believe.
Okay. And you said defensively?
Defensively is tough for me.
We'll keep it simple. We'll keep it simple because we got people backstage, man. We got some special guests. So I'll say, because I agree, it's gonna be like a 30 to 30 something. So I'm gonna say 35. Give me 35-28. 35-28.
Yeah.
Raiders.
Okay.
35-28 Raiders. But without further ado, man, we got some special guests, man. Real Fan Sports, man. They do a lot of good things on their channel, man. They focus on a lot of different sports, man. And I seen a funny clip. I'm gonna bring it up to them when they get on the live. But let me go ahead and introduce them, man. We got Zach from Real Fan Sports and Nonfiction, man. What's good, man? I appreciate you guys pulling up, man.
What's good, y'all?
What's up, everybody? How you doing? How you doing, baby?
Pretty good, man. So how you fellas doing?
Doing good, man. A little tired, but good.
All right,
So tell us
cool.
how a Raiders fan and a Saints fan tend to fight each other.
Because we both hate. Well, we both hate the very long time. But we've been friends for a very, very long time. So before this all started, we both used to game on Twitch.
Okay.
So we met on Twitch, met in a random lobby playing Fortnite.
Here we are dropping content.
At like 3 a.m. in the morning. But I used to do this by myself on my original channel. And Zach would come in and spill time and all that stuff. And then one day he was like, "Hey man, you mind if I come and join you?" I was like, "Hell, we talk this much anyway after stream, so I might as well come through and let's just top it up for real." And we decided not to make it like a team centric stream and make it more about just the fans itself. And there's multiple streams, multiple teams, and it seems to be working out for us.
Yeah, I mean, I seen a couple of your streams, man. Like that's kind of like your specialty. You do a lot of streams for different games.
Yeah.
I seen you guys did the KC Raider game. Y'all do NBA streams.
Mm-hmm.
The clip that I wanted to bring up to you, it was the girl that like hit the punching bag.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! You wouldn't even expect it. Y'all should go check out their channel, Real Fan Sports. They posted a short of this girl. Like you wouldn't even expect it, but she like literally hits the punching bag and.
That's harder than I've ever hit it. Harder than I've ever hit that thing, bro. And she came back with the form, bro. She had the technique with it.
Yeah, we try to go around and just like look at clips and find clips and just try to post some that's fun, some that's silly, but some that's kind of interesting. Like, okay, that's actually pretty fire, you know?
Right.
Okay. Right. Hey, but look, man, we got a big game coming up on Sunday. Raiders versus Saints. I think two teams that look, they're both fighting for a win. You can make the argument. Yeah, you can make the argument that look, they're both not where they want to be right now. And I think that they're kind of on two different trajectories, right? I feel like the Raiders are finally starting to find their identity, running the football, really using play action really well with Devontae Adams, and coming up with turnovers at crucial moments in the game to really lead them to a victory. You want to give us a perspective of the Saints and where they're at and maybe where they've fallen short so far this season?
Oh, man, dude. It'd be easier to tell you where we've done good just because there's been so much bad lately, you know? I've never wanted to blame things on injuries, but it's just unfortunate going into the season and having real expectations, whether, other people agree or disagree with that. Like we really thought we had a good solid unit, both on offense and defense. And we just haven't seen it, man. We've struggling now, dealing without Michael Thomas, dealing without Jarvis Landry, hoping to get one of them back for this week. Losing Marshawn Lattimore, and now we're also down Roby and Williams in the backfield. It's gonna be a tough time against the Raiders, man. I'm really hoping we can just use some type of dome power to keep ourselves in it. But I'm expecting a high scoring game, and I think it's gonna be tough. I think it's gonna be really tough. Do
you think that Michael Thomas has a chance to go, or speak on that Marshawn Lattimore injury? How serious is that, and do you expect him to miss some time?
Things have been just so uninformed. Like we really don't know much because the beginning phases of Michael Thomas's injury was that oh, it's going to be like, a week. Then it's like, all right, it's 2 weeks. And they were like, look, we didn't want to put him on IR because we think he'll be ready in 4 weeks. 4 weeks passed, he's still not in. And we still haven't seen him practice. I don't believe he practiced today. So, it's up to tomorrow if we're going to figure anything out. I mean, God forbid, I hope Marshall Lattimore is there. Like, if anything, if we can deal without Thomas, still have an AK back there, Olave, who's been kind of doing his thing, and then the rookie Rashid Shaheed kind of coming in and making some big plays on offense. But, I mean, we scored 36 last week against the Cardinals, but we allowed them to put up 42 against us. And it's just bad football on the defensive side. And losing that deep cover corner where we just know no one wants to throw the ball in his direction, they're able to spread the ball wherever they want.
That alludes me to going into the season. How were Saints fans feeling about Dennis Allen? I'm sure you were well aware with your co-host. The Raiders have a history with Dennis Allen. We're fully aware of him, and we kind of understood. I thought as a defensive coordinator for you guys in the times past, he really did a good job of getting that defense flying around, making plays on the football, and being aggressive. It's when you transition over into the head coach and more responsibility and different types of duties you're asked to do. What was your expectations of Dennis Allen going into the season? Not necessarily where they are right now, but how did you guys feel as a fan base about Dennis Allen?
We felt pretty optimistic, man, because we dealt with the season without Sean Payton whenever Pete Carmichael went ahead and took all the offensive calls, and we were actually number one in offense that year, even though we did have a poor record that year. We were number one in overall offense, and we thought Dennis Allen just transitioning as head coach would be him just controlling the defense and Pete Carmichael kind of doing his thing. But the thing that I was warned by from Nan here was that his leadership just really isn't there, and that is the problem that I'm seeing. It's like I want to hear a voice. Like whenever he's doing these interviews and stuff like that, I get he's like not wanting to go get loud and be public about whatever issues are going on. But sometimes I just want to see you come out and say, we look like crap. And this is why. And like these guys got to step up. Like I need my men to step up. Like I need you to be the voice. In the locker room after the Cardinals game, it wasn't him that came in and talked. It was Alvin Kamara who came in and gathered everybody around and had to have a sit down and tell them what's good. You like to see that from the player, but the coach should be the first one to do it, and that leadership, it's becoming obvious. It's becoming obvious that they're not intertwined playing together like we used to see with Saints football.
Well, it's interesting because, when you're losing, you could pretty much can criticize everything because there's different types of coaching styles. There's some coaches who like locker rooms that are led by the players. And then there's some coaches that are hands-on, man. Like they're gonna let you know who's the top dog. You know what I mean? But in this case, Dennis Allen, his issue, at least with us, when he was our head coach, I mean the Raiders head coach, it was a classic case of a guy that was a head coach too soon. He was a coordinator acting as a head coach. And do you see that as the case with the Saints? Is he just a coordinator? Is it official?
It does seem that way now that you say it. And it boils down to Pete Carmichael too, because he didn't want the job as the offense coordinator. He denied the job at first because he never had to just completely take over the offense except for that one season. Sean always ran the plays. And I think it was evidence that he's not like the head coach that we all expected and wanted, because he, initially came out and he's like, the way I coach is physical, tough, mean playing. That's the play style I want. Physical, tough, and mean. But you're soft-spoken in the press. I never see you chewing anybody out on the sides. I don't see you ever just trying to get people involved. And then you saw a couple weeks back where Mark Ingram is being interviewed by Sean Payton, and he was mentioning the fumbles. And Mark Ingram goes, "Oh yeah, we know what you would have done if you would still be here." And it made you sit back and do even the players respect him as much as they should? Because, you come in and say oh, things would have been different if Sean been here, not word for word, but that's kind of what you're insinuating. I don't know.
Sean Payton is a really good coach, but tell me if it kind of feels this way. I really like what Sean Payton did, by the way, in New Orleans. However, does it kind of feel like he ran up the tab and he's making the next coaching staff pay the bill? I mean, I don't see that at all, man. And if anything, it's a little bit with him, but Mickey Loomis is just,
There's a formula. There's a really cool guy named Nick Underhill from NO Sports or N. Sports. I'm forgetting, so my bad. But Nick Underhill, he goes and has a thing that he posts at the end of every single year whenever the salary cap situation comes up. And he breaks down every single contract and goes and shows why it's not a big deal, why this salary cap isn't a problem right now. So I really don't blame him for those type of things. You know, I think it's combined with him and Mickey, they had a game plan, and Mickey Loomis is continuing with that game plan. So I haven't seen that as an issue.
Hey man, nonfiction. I got a question for you, man, because we were talking too much Saints.
Right? Yeah.
You gotta get back to the Raiders a little bit, man. So we want to hear your thoughts, man. Like, how do you feel about the Raiders season so far, man? I mean, we started off like 0-3, and then eventually 1-4. Now we're 2-4. Like, what is your feelings on the season so far?
I mean, even before the season started, I told Zach and everybody who came in stream saying, you guys have Davante Adams, which I think is definitely a step in the right direction. I mean, we did give a lot of money for him, so it'd be nice for him to do big things all the time when he gets on the field. But that's not logical to think that way. You know what I'm saying? That's not how sports work. But I mean, in the beginning, just you had positive hopes and hope it'll be a lot better than what we're looking at, especially with McDaniels. It's supposed to be this offensive minded genius, and we just don't see. There's some times where he calls plays, and it's just like, why are you? That doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you calling that? Just think about the Chiefs game. Why did we not kick a field goal?
Right. Well,
I think not to interrupt you, but like every coach that comes in with the Raiders, there's a stigma of being that team that beats the Chiefs, to being that coach that beats the Chiefs, and so you see it. Every coach has come in. They always try to make that statement on Chiefs games. It's like that's not the hilltop. The hilltop is championship. So you got to play smart. And just some of his play calling just has been quote unquote smart for a offensive mastermind. Personally,
yeah, it's like I said, man. When you're losing, you can criticize everything, especially early on. Like McDaniels, you can point to some things about McDaniels, especially like the second game of the season where we literally had we're up 20-0 against the Cardinals. Man. And we're looking at how Josh Jacobs is like just killing everybody right now. It makes you think like, wow, how did we not give the ball to Josh Jacobs in the second half when you're up? You know what I mean? Like, we scored 3 points in that second half.
But it's not surprising when you think about where he comes from, because Patriots don't value running backs. They never have. As long as Belichick's been there, they've never valued running backs. They put anybody back there. They put receivers back there to be running backs. So the mentality is the same. Because think about it, Josh Jacobs played in the preseason. Nobody else did. They made this man play in the preseason, knowing that he has the quality and the potential to be a top running back in the league. And now you walk away from the possible option to keep him as part of the team. Now you see his actual potential when you didn't want to play him the first 3 games in the season, and you try to do this running back by committee situation, which wasn't working at all.
Right.
It just wasn't working. Now you see, okay, we should have stuck with what they were doing last year. It was working to a point. We didn't have the greatest season, but we still had a really good season for what happened overall.
Back.
You know what I'm saying? And I know everybody like, oh, we didn't go Super Bowl. I'm still happy how we finished. We finished strong. To finish strong and start the way we started now, that's not really on the team per se. That's on the coaching staff. That's on the administration.
And
something changed.
Let me give the other side of the coin to what you're saying, because we can also point the fingers at the coaching staff, but I think also a lot of this has to do with the execution by the players as well. You have Darren Waller that has drop passes in the red zone. You have Davante Adams and Hunter Renfrow running into each other. You can make the argument that if Davante Adams, regardless of all the calls that the refs were calling in that Chiefs game, if Davante Adams gets 2 feet in bounds and they kick a field goal, you're talking about a Raiders win over one of the best teams in the National Football League. So I think this goes hand in hand. It's both coaching staff, but it also has a lot to do with a new defensive coordinator, a new offensive coordinator, and these guys really trying to get down this offense. So I think it's easy to look at it both ways, because you say what you want, but last year we're getting blown out by the Chiefs 45-17 or whatever the score was. Yep. And in this game, it looked to me like that gap has been closed. I feel like the Raiders can go in there and beat the Chiefs. I mean, I think that the Raiders can go out there and beat.
Definitely. They should have won. They should have won. There was coaching problems at the end, man. We were watching that game, and me and Nam were ready to flip our desk, throw our monitors across the room and everything, watching it. I'm doing that because now, hanging out with him, I became a secondhand Raiders fan.
Closet Raider fan.
Yeah.
Hey, you're always one color away.
You're on the dark side, man.
Hey, look, black and gold, not black and silver. But he's sitting back here just like this, and I'm like, bro, you're not mad? He goes, it's the Raiders. He said, I'm expecting this out of McDaniels. He said he hasn't figured it out yet, but there's a lot of teams coming out, and the Saints are one of them too, of getting a new coach, even though our coach was in the system, but just thinking that nothing was going to change, that we're going to benefit from all the things that happened in the offseason. We kind of found our stride at the end. But there's only one good team that has a new coach that's playing well right now, and that's the Giants of all people. There's definitely a transition of communication between, players and coaches, figuring out how the coach wants, their schemes to be done, how, trying to find their own identity. Because, even if, with Dennis Allen's case, even though he's worked under Sean Payton for like 12 years or whatever it's been been quite a while, he still wants to make this his team and bring in his identity to it and his aspects to the game of football. So there's going to be some troubling vibrations going on until they're able to master those things. And y'all luckily have found it, and it's just pounding the rock. And if, developing a good run game when you're still having a couple coaching cues and mistakes is, you're going to keep the game close if you can run the ball heavy. And Jacobs has done just that.
Yeah, and let's not act like the New Orleans Saints offensively are doing nothing but terrible things. Like when I watch their ability to get Alvin Kamara involved in the game, spread out weapons, a Chris Olave, guy I was really high out in the draft on. Also, you got a rookie, Rashid Shaheed. He's somebody who I brought up. He's just an explosive playmaker when the ball's in his hand. Taysom Hill. You guys have weapons to be able to spread the ball out and get creative. What are some aspects to the New Orleans offense that you see them attacking the Raiders with?
Taysom 100%.
Yeah, they have to utilize Taysom.
He has to be like the weirdest player in the NFL.
Oh, he's gotta be
so weird.
Freak of a human, man. Coming out of high school or coming out of college, playing football, playing quarterback, going to the Packers, come to the Saints, and just rolling that back up. And then, the reason why we even played him was because I think we were in like a 2-game loss at this point, and Taysom was just doing things at practice, and he was just telling Coach Sean, he's like, bro, I just want to play. He's like, put me in anywhere. I don't care. I'm obviously not going to take the job from Drew. Put me somewhere. I want to play football. So they went ahead and put him on the special teams, and he had gotten the block punt. And then that ventured off to him lining up at running back, lining up at wide receiver, lining up at tight end, and just putting him all over the place. And he's just an excellent football player.
I love that.
Yeah. But, as far as the Raiders, getting the ball out quick and not letting Crosby get to us is going to be the hardest task, because our line has not been excellent, especially on that side. Our only lineman that's been playing really great for us is Cesar Ruiz, our left guard. So, making sure that we can get the ball out quick, whether it's little dump screen passes to AK, whether it's running the option routes with Taysom, or if it's, having Olave or Shaheed go down the middle on a crossing route, something to get the ball out quick and get drives moving first. It's got to be mandatory. It's got to be the first thought.
Okay. So watching your guys' defense, I see a lot of single high safety sets. I see a lot of putting an emphasis on being aggressive, making good tackles, kind of like what you were alluding to earlier. They want to try to be a bully, but they've struggled with some missed tackles lately. Do you think going against the Raiders, me personally, I'd imagine that they're going to make an emphasis to really stop Josh Jacobs and force Derek Carr to win the game with his arm? Do you expect them to run a lot of single high safety? And if so, do you think that actually bodes well for them, given Devontae Adams' emergence and Hunter Renfrow getting involved and potentially getting Darren Waller back?
It's all going to really matter on who's in the lineup, man. Like I said, right now, and our secondaries, we're sitting at Alante Taylor, the rookie, Harris Jr., the guy who's just been flying all around the country on people's practice squads, that's been pulled up. Now without Roby, hopefully getting a Debo back. We don't have a lot of depth back there. So if out of the defense, I want to see us utilizing some more, utilizing the blitz a little bit more, getting some more pressure. We've been mainly just rushing 4 all season. We haven't seen the safety blitz like we expected to see out of Tyrann Mathieu at all this season. I'd like to see some of that get involved. I want to see some creative playmaking on the defense. That's why we loved Dennis Allen before. He was so creative. He always gave different reads. He'd flash, 5 or 6 rushing, and then he'll drop back 3 or drop back 2 or just send 2. And you never knew what you were going to get. Right now, it's just been standard football. Like every time I see him line up, if you watch enough games, you can sit there and be like, okay, I know exactly where they're going to go right now.
I've seen that too.
And they get take advantage of it.
I think, and not to cut you off, I've seen that. I think you're right there with the Raiders. I think the Saints are right there with the Raiders as far as taking the ball away as one of the worst in the league. I think.
Yeah.
And that's a bad stat to be in if you're trying to win games, football games, man. You need extra possessions to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we've only had one pick so far this year, just a single one. And the 2 guys that we lost during the offseason, being CD or Gardner Johnson and Marcus Williams, that's now with the Ravens, they have a combined of 7. And you can't turn the ball over. How are you going to expect momentum to go your way? We're allowing 3rd and 6s to turn into first downs constantly. We're killing ourselves by jumping off sides or we've had like several defensive holding penalties called against us. It's calls that you don't even see that often, but we managed to get 3 of them a game at least.
Got you. And let's get to the chat real quick. Ja Raider says Raiders are eyeing to get Brandon Cooks. Imagine Adams, Renfro, Cooks, Jacobs, Foster, and he also adds Waller if he stays healthy. Now I haven't seen that. I don't know if anybody's seen that on a panel. Brandon Cooks being a guy that is possibly available. Trade deadline. I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Would that be a smart move for the Raiders? I think didn't Cooks. I don't know how true this rumor is. I think Jared, I don't know if you came up with this, but I think Cook signed a big big deal.
I've heard he's on the trading block. I've seen a number of teams looking at him because I've even seen some rumors of the Saints wanting to possibly talk to him, even though I don't think we will. We've been there, done that with him. He was mad at us, so I don't think he'd want to come play with us. But
no, if anything, I think the Raiders really do have their eyes set on trading for Jack Conklin, right tackle from the Cleveland Browns. And I think that would bode well for him. I don't think this Raiders team is too far away if they can get their execution down. They're just starting to trend in the right direction. It's that time of year, especially in New England. They typically start off their seasons a bit slower. And by that time, November and December comes around, usually they're hitting on all cylinders, have a good ground game going, effective when it comes to play action. And you can start to see that. As far as Brandon Cooks, how about we just stick to focusing on finding our identity on the ground, man? Let's stick to Josh Jacobs. Let's get the weapons that we have involved before you start adding more ingredients to the cupboard. Get Devontae schemed open. Get Hunter Renfrow involved. Get a Darren Waller involved. Get those guys in the mixing bowl a little bit before you go out there and add more talent to the skills position.
I like what LNM Pro says right here. He says we should get Nelson back. I think he's referring to Nelson Aguilar. So yeah, definitely would like that instead of Cooks. I mean, Cooks would be nice because he's played in the Patriots, system, so he's familiar. I think Nelson would even be a better fit because he's played with Derek Carr, so it's going to be like an easier transition. So I like that as well. But let's be honest here. Well, if the Raiders are going to make any trades, in my opinion, that would really help the team, it'd be on the defensive side of the ball.
It's going to be on defense, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely defense. I've seen the rumors already about the Nelson Aguilar thing with the coaches, because since the relationship between the Patriots and the Raiders is actually pretty tight now. But as far as like the Brandon Cooks thing, the only thing I see from Ian Rappaport just says there's multiple calls, didn't say any specific teams.
Yeah,
right.
I thought it was interesting though. Hold on, let me pull it up here real quick. But when you look at the Raiders draft picks that they have, they really have a lot of room to move and shake. The Raiders have a first, a second, a third. They've got 2 4ths, 2 5ths, 2 6ths, and 3 7th. And then they have 2 conditional picks that can turn into a 5th and a 6th, and then another 6th. So you're talking about 3 6th-round picks, 3 5th-round picks, 3 7th-round picks, 2 4th-round picks. Like the Raiders have a lot of room to move and shake if they want to go out here and make some moves to get some players.
Oh yeah, we got trade money basically. We got it.
Definitely. Well, the one thing Brandon Cooks could bring too is he could be that replace for Ruggs. Just absolute deep threat. I mean, that's how Brandon Cooks started in the NFL, was just a pure deep threat. We did that for us with the Saints. Did that with the Texans while they had Fuller, and then now he's kind of been that wide receiver one, but not being able to produce those high numbers now that there's really no one else around him.
Mm-hmm.
And that deep threat could bring out more options, because then you have a better, more flexible route tree with Devontae Adams, more flexible route tree with Renfro as well.
Yeah,
I think
the defense out. Yeah, spreads defense, make them play more honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to really nitpick, that is true. The Raiders don't really have a deep threat. I think I seen Tyron Johnson surprisingly he signed with, well, not surprisingly, they actually cut him, and he signed with the Houston Texans. So that was a guy that kind of filled that role, and they really didn't really incorporate him in the offense. He played a few snaps on offense early on in the season, and they kind of they cut him, then they brought him on the practice squad, and then we kind of picked up Albert Wilson, but then we cut him. So I don't know what they're going to be doing. We've heard rumors about Nelson Aguilar being a guy that they're targeting, possibly. We'll see. But I'm more interested if we can get like a playmaking or pass rush and D tackle. Whoo!
Right.
That would be nice.
We need some on defense. What did we get for Johnathan Hankins for the Cowboys? What did we get in the return?
A 6th and a 7th.
Oh, okay.
A 6th and a 7th? I thought it was just a 6th. I thought we got a 6th round pick,
and we gave him a 7th.
We gave him a 7th with Johnathan Hankins.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in my opinion, it was a solid move. Just based off the fact that at this point, he was just a player that stopped the run, and he was aging, and we already had some players at that position that filled that role nicely. And I think he was a healthy scratch against the Chiefs, and he played.
Yeah, he was a healthy scratch.
You know what I mean? So, and that's a big game, a divisional game, and you're a healthy scratch.
Yeah,
it's not really a good sign. But
now to look at the Saints, do you get the aspect that this is just execution issues, or do you think that this is more starting from the top of the organization down, and now you're starting to see the fruits of all that?
No, I think it's purely execution, man. I really do. Like I said, I mean, I'm saying all the negative things, just like you said earlier. When your team's losing, you can nitpick and you can really come in and point out the negatives, man. I'm a very honest Saints fan, but I still think we have all the components and all the pieces to be a good team. I think we just got to start playing and executing together. Like that's what I want to see. Like, the energy that we used to bring on defense was like no other. Even like there was games like the last 2 seasons where really defensively we weren't playing good. And then it'd be like into the third quarter, we make one turnover, and then all of a sudden we're playing like a top defense in the league. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that energy coming from them. The only guy that's going out there bringing out good energy has been Pete Warner, who's leading the league in solo tackles. And DeMario Davis every once in a while, but he's getting older. He can't move with the young cats as much as he used to be able to. And then offensive wise, even trying to figure out the things between Jameis and Dalton has been frustrating. Both of them are mediocre at best looking. Hoping James can come back and be healthy with that back injury. He did fracture 4 vertebrae, tried to play through it for 2 games, and you could tell when he was trying to throw the ball that he wasn't able to get his hips involved. He wasn't turning with his throws. He looked like Brett Favre, just all arm, nothing else. And that was causing some of those inaccuracies. But that also doesn't change some of the decision-making that he does too. Sean Payton, had him on a leash whenever he played with us last year when he led us to 6-2 or whatever it was before he got hurt.
You could tell.
He forced him to, go through your checkdowns. This should be your first read. This should be your second read, your third read. Do this. There was the one game, I believe it was against Tampa Bay, where there was a stretch. He threw like 10 deep balls to Chris Olave, and like 2 of them eventually connected, and they were big plays. I think they both might have ended up in touchdowns or at least a field goal. But there's no reason why in a 16-minute stretch of football that you should be sending out 10 deep shots like that. Move the ball progressively up the field, get your other players involved, get your run game going, and then you hit them with 1 or 2. Like, a rookie shouldn't be getting 15 targets in a game, in his second game at that.
Yeah, I mean, being a Saints fan must be tough right now, because it's like you have pieces, but the most important position on the football field is you guys are still trying to figure that out. You know what I mean? You guys don't have a quarterback, and on top of that, defensively, you guys have regressed, like I said earlier, and I think I was talking to Ray about this too. He was telling me about this, and I remember seeing something where you guys. I think next year, you guys are going to be like, I don't know how much over the cap. It's gonna be
so I got it right here. So no 2023 first round pick, no 2024 second round pick, $54 million over the 23 projected cap, with only 36 players under contract. Obviously, question marks at quarterback, and then 2 of their best defensive players are 34 years old in 2023.
Yeah, the age is probably the biggest problem right now. Like, it's a good and bad thing that Saints fans do, where we just value players and their loyalty to our team to almost to a fault. Because guys like Cam Jordan, love Cam Jordan, man. He's always in the city. You'll see him up in Walmart out in Metairie, not too far from the stadium. But we should have got value from him at some point in his career. Now that he's getting older, we're finally seeing that decline in speed. Anytime there's a mobile quarterback, they can bounce it out to the right side every single time they want to, because Cam can't catch up like he was able to 5 years prior. And then, like I said, Demario Davis, even though he brings great leadership and it's valued and it's needed on that defensive team, he can direct and teach like Pete Warner how to do things and do things correctly, but he can't go out and make the big plays like he used to. And that's a big issue. But, as far as the cap thing, like I said, man, until I see it be a problem, I'm not worrying about it, because we've always made it work out and happen the way that we wanted to. Even with, people were talking, the cap was the issue, reason why we had to get rid of CD Gardner-Johnson. But the reality was he wanted to get paid top safety money, but all we played him as was a nickel corner. He only played 50% of the possessions. And we didn't want to give him top safety money. We didn't want to start him at the safety position. And we brought in the rookie Alante Taylor, and Dennis Allen felt like he could do the same thing with Alante as he did with CD. And so far, it's been similar to that. The one thing we just can't replace is the energy that CD brought. But Alante has been shut down. He had the highest PFF grade this past week on the team or in the game.
Okay. And let's get to this question right here. Luis Lopez says, and he's talking about the Raiders, would y'all rather have right tackle Conklin or a D tackle or a cornerback? I feel like a good D tackle will help the back end. Definitely. I agree with you 100%, but what do you guys think about this? D tackle?
D tackle. Yeah.
Pass rush and D tackle?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer. Pass rush, D tackle. But here's the also thing, like, I think we got to look at the salary cap situation as well, because you handed out a lot of guaranteed money this offseason, and with Josh Jacobs having the year that he's having, if he is in the plans for the future for the Raiders, and you do want to retain him, you got to expect he's probably going to get somewhere around $12 to $16 million a year, up in that top 8 running back market money. If you go out and get a defensive tackle, say like a Payne from Washington, he's in a contract year. He's going to want $15-16 million a year after this year's up. I seen a lot of reports about William Jackson from the Commanders. If you go get him, he's a 29-year-old defensive back who's on books to make $15 million next year. So if you go out there and you're going to make a move at defensive back or defensive tackle, you got to make sure that they're good moves for the Raiders organization moving forward.
White Tyson has a question. This is probably going to be for Zach, and I think you spoke on this earlier, but he wants to know, is Michael Thomas healthy?
We'll know tomorrow. See if he practices. He's yet to practice. Like I said, they've been keeping everything really on the down low. Yeah. Dennis Allen really hadn't spoke out much. Every single injury that we've had, he's just kind of like, it's minor. We'll evaluate later. That's all he really gives us right now. And even the insiders that I've talked to and that I know, they really can't help much either.
Cool. Well, they haven't said anything it's been 12 hours last time they even mentioned his name. So. Yeah.
Cool Kev 75 says he has a message for you. He says Dennis Allen thinks Jameis Winston is going to be the next Terrell. Cool, he's always trolling.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was a fan of Terrell Pryor when he was in the silver and black. I was rooting for Terrell.
He had a couple of good moments. He had some good moments,
But we were struggling at quarterback at that point.
He just couldn't pass the ball.
We don't even need to open up the Derek Carr conversation, because that's don't do that.
But dude, the thing is with Jameis too, man, is it's like he can throw that damn ball, man, and he can put it where he wants to. But a lot of the picks that he gets is not because he didn't put the ball where he wanted it, is that he's throwing in triple coverage. You know, it's like it's decision making, man. Like if they could just find a way to corral him down and just like get in his head and just be like, dude, like just check your check downs. He doesn't like passing to his running backs. He hasn't done it his whole career because he never had a running back with Tampa Bay. But that's no excuse not to look at it when you have your playmakers. Me and Nana talked about this several times watching games, like especially like with the Commanders this week, you know, beating Green Bay. Someone messaged us and was like, oh man, McLaurin finally showed up. And I was like, McLaurin's been playing the whole time. They just haven't given their playmakers the ball. And that's the thing that Jameis wasn't doing. Wasn't giving the ball out to Taysom. Wasn't giving the ball out to Alvin. There was a lot of times where he had Michael Thomas wide open in a short pass, but he'd rather send it long. Is give your ball to playmakers and let them get rolling, and you'll win. You'll win games. These dudes are paid like they are and have been in the league and done the high tier level things that they've done in the league because they are playmakers. You give them the ball any chance you get. You don't dismiss them.
Trust me, I got Kamara in fantasy right now, and I could tell that Jameis doesn't like to throw Kamara. I think maybe Dalton does it a little bit better, you know what I mean, compared to Jameis. But yeah,
what quarterback do you think gives the Saints the best opportunity to win, though? Say both can go.
That's a tough question.
This has been my thought on it the whole time. Is I think Andy Dalton could realistically, and I mean that's if our defense doesn't stop, crap in the bed. Andy Dalton gets us to playoffs. Could consistently get us to playoffs year in and year out. He's assistant quarterback and he's a game manager, but he won't get us anything past the playoff. Jameis Winston playing at a high level can get us to a big game because he has the arm talent and he has the ability to make big plays. But it's all he said, she said until we see either of those things happen. I think we're stuck with Jameis and Dennis Allen for this year and next year without a first. James is signed to a very small little minor contract. It's not like it's hurting our budget too much. And then we go from there and see what happens. If there's not drastic change by the end of this season, then I would expect by midway through point, we're going to see some big moves for the Saints. I hope not rebuild because I just hate the word rebuild. I hate when teams do it, man. But I can see some drastic changes before the trade deadline next year.
Hey, you kind of can make a case that Dennis Allen has kind of been dealt like a bad hand on both. For sure. You know what I mean? Like it's a lose-lose because when he came to the Raiders had no cap, no first or second round pick, and we had probably one of the worst rosters in the league. But with the Saints, obviously you can argue like, okay, he has a better team, obviously with the more talented team, but he doesn't have a quarterback, and like you just said, the defense is aging and they're not playing as well.
Injuries on top of it,
and is there any sign that it's going to get better next year? That's tough to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I don't think there is. I think the excuse is going to be that because of that, he kind of came in and just got what he got. I mean, he brought in Matthews, which we all wanted to see, but Matthews looked like he's retired, but just collecting a check right now. Still playing, but he's ducking out of tackles. You go sign Jarvis, he unfortunately gets the ankle injury. Mike Thomas gets hurt. It's like they're going to use those excuses and they're going to give him another chance. But depending on how this year ends and how next season starts is really going to depend on, where he goes. Hopefully he, wants to stay the defense coordinator because I think he does that job pretty good when that's his only job,
And with the writing with everything going on behind the scenes, the cap space situation, and you don't have a first round pick or a future second round pick, all these things in a struggling team right now. You're not in a position necessarily even to fold. You don't have that first round pick. You can't go out there and get a quarterback early in the draft. So it puts the Saints organization in a weird position.
Well, man, the Saints became the Saints and became this team over the last, almost 20 years where they've, been talked about and respected due to their resilience, man. Not to bring up, Katrina, but like ever since that happened and all those bad things, we've been resilient and we fought through. And I think things can turn around. Based off of interviews and like I said, the conversation that AK's had with the team after the game against the Cardinals, DeMario Davis came out and interviewed the other day and he asked him, "Do you want me to preach?" And the man preached for about 2 minutes and he just spoke. And you could just kind of feel that To be optimistic like I am, I think we're going to see a slightly different Saints team. I still think this is going to be a really tough matchup for us, but I think we're going to play much better football this week. And I think it'll be the first time that we will have a complete game where I feel like, okay, this feels like Saints football, because we really haven't had that. Even in the wins that we've gotten, against Seattle, that didn't feel like Saints football. Like, we still played really poorly. We just scored more. And then, same thing with Atlanta. We played a horrible 3 quarters, but we played Saints football for a quarter. We haven't had a complete game. I think this will be a complete game for us.
I said it earlier because I really do think that we're going to get the best Saints unit that we've seen. I just think with everything that's building up in the media, going on in the New Orleans locker room, I just feel like we're personally going to get the best Saints that we've seen so far this year. And at the same time, I think you're getting the best Raiders team that we've seen up to date into this season. Definitely. So it's moving into a game that I think is going to be an explosive, high-scoring matchup.
Facts, big facts.
And Van City got an announcement to make. He says, if we only bring in a right tackle and no defense, I'm going to jump off a bridge. Man, Van City, don't do it, man.
Don't do it. Please reconsider.
Don't do it because it's probably going to happen.
But you know what, though? The Raiders are still doing the rotating right tackle situation, even though it's last game it worked well. With Theron Munford had his best rated game last game, and then obviously Illuminor is playing a little bit better. He's not getting penalized. But if we get a guy like Conklin,
that's why I think a lot of these talks are happening. Illuminor,
he's questionable. He's questionable.
He's got a shoulder injury. He finished the game with a cast on his hand, and then he got his ankle rolled up on. Like, bro, he's limping to finish the game. So,
that would make sense why we didn't get that many offensive line calls. So that would make sense.
Yeah.
He's going to have some good ibuprofen, that good stuff.
White Tyson says, prepare to see 2013 Andy Dalton this Sunday. Facts, man. Our defense, we made Davis Mills look good. You know what I mean? Especially in the first half. He was slicing and dicing us, especially against the blitz. And this is against a better offense we're going against it. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, like everybody's kind of been mentioning.
Oh, yeah.
But let's talk about the outcome, man. Like, how do you guys feel? We kind of me and Ray earlier in the show, we kind of had our predictions on who's going to win. Zach, how do you feel about who's going to win, and guess the score, and your player of the game, a guy that will be the main X factor that causes whatever outcome.
Yeah, man. Obviously, I'm rocking with the Saints, man. We're real fan of sports, man. We don't care. Without further doubt, you could be the 1-6 or 1-6 Lions, and you could say they're gonna beat the undefeated Eagles. I don't care. You rep your team. So I would say the Saints are gonna win one. I think it's gonna be high scoring, man. I hope it's not as high scoring as the Cardinals game, but I think it's gonna be something like it's gonna be something like 35 Saints, we'll say 31 Raiders. Goodness.
Okay.
And as far as the player of the game, man, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's look at the rookie shine, man. Olave's gonna have a day. Olave's gonna have a day.
I was thinking that too. I was like, if you're gonna pick them to score that much, I think against our secondary, that's kind of injured right now.
Yeah.
Olave can be a problem for sure.
I don't know. I still got Alvin Kamara circled on the map though too, because he has the ability to get 2 receiving. Even if it's down in the red zone, check down, make a guy miss, and score a touchdown. He's the type of back that he could pop off and get 2 receiving touchdowns and rush for 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
the beautiful thing about watching AK play is just how he allows the game to develop for him instead of forcing it. You'll never see AK just go run and try to go past his blockers. He just guides his blockers in his direction. He never speeds up. He just allows his blockers to go downfield. All right, hey, yeah, you push him. Hey, you push him. All right, I'm going through now. It's crazy how he's able.
He's a special player.
Definitely.
So nonfiction, man.
Well, the over and under for this game is 49.5. That's the crazy over and under. But as far as score potential, I'm thinking of course Raiders 30. Saints 28. Keep it simple.
Man, are you trying to tell me that we're gonna lose by another double doink? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
I'm gonna say I'm not gonna be close enough to get a double doink.
Okay.
But if I had to pick player of the game, I'm going to stick with what's been working for us. I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs. The last 3 weeks, he's been averaging 140 plus yards. Saints give up 130 on the ground. That's their average. So if they average 130 and he's averaging 140, the science is there. The math is there. So
he's at least going for 200.
I definitely can see him having a good game, and I hope Carr just with his grasp on the offense just starts to look a little better in the pocket, look more confident in the pocket, and hope the relationship between him and McDaniels just seem a little better than what it's been seeming the last couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? And if that happens, because when you see when Carr's confident, he plays pretty well.
I see John Rader in the comments saying Jacobs getting 200 yards. Look, the Saints. I know the Saints defense ain't been playing the way they normally do, but the Saints have only allowed one player to rush over 100 yards in the last 5 years. Okay, if Jacobs gets 200 yards rushing, I'm gonna get you cash app, bro. I'll send you $20. Not a lot, because I'm poor, but I'll send you $20.
I was doing some research. I got a fact check. I've been doing some research. So against the Falcons on the ground, 201 total yards. The Panthers, 144 total yards. The Seahawks, 151 yards.
Yeah, that's
against
what I said. They have
147. So,
no, I'm talking about individual players. That's why. But like I said, our defense definitely hasn't been it. But if he gets 200, I swear I'll send you $20. I'm poor, so I can't send you more.
But yeah, 30-28 final score. Player of the game. I'm going with sticking with Jacobs.
I like it.
Okay. Earlier in the show, I kind of said 35-28. I said Raiders. I do believe it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders going to come out on top, obviously. And then I think, Ray, what was your final score?
It was 34-31.
Okay.
So another 3-pointer. Okay.
Yeah.
Who y'all picked for y'all player of the game, though?
I actually went with Hunter Renfrow because I think there's going to be a huge focal point on shutting down Darren Waller. And when I say Hunter Renfrow, I'm not saying he's going to go out there and put up 110 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
I just think he's going to be a crucial aspect for the Raiders being efficient this Sunday.
He's going to be guarded by Harris, so should be all right.
Yeah, so I feel like they're going to load the box and really try to shut down and limit Josh Jacobs, and Devontae Adams is going to do what Devontae Adams does. I think he'll have the more gaudy numbers. Obviously, I think Devontae goes for over 100 yards this game, but I think Hunter Renfrow's efficiency for third downs, even in the red zone, to do those double moves to get some separation and score. I'm going Hunter Renfrow.
Okay. Did I mention anybody being a player in the game last? I guess the obvious answer is Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Derek Carr, like the marquee players. But I'm just gonna go randomly. I'm just gonna go and say Matt Collins. Matt Collins. He's been having a good game. Yeah, he's gonna get a whole bunch of one-on-ones, and if they're gonna, I think the Saints are kind of like gonna go all in and stopping Josh Jacobs. And it's gonna leave some opportunities for a guy like Matt Collins. And the Raiders, if you notice, like every time Derek Carr has kind of like attacked downfield, a lot of it has been with Hollins. So I think that there could be some big plays out there, especially with Hollins. I'll just take him. I mean, he's.
I kind of like that too.
Yeah, I like that backpack. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
And the thing is too, he's tall, man. He loves high pointing the ball. He does really well at that. And we have very small secondary, very short secondary. So he'll probably get matched up against I'd probably think like probably Alontae Taylor if I had to guess, and he's definitely the smallest out of the bunch, I believe. So I could see it.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man. Hey, man. I like we said, man. We've been talking about this game, man. It's gonna be a great game. I think it's gonna be a great game. It's gonna be early for us, I think, or I should say for myself. I'm on the West Coast. Where you guys at?
We Central.
Yeah, we both
Central. I know the Midwest. So I'm gonna be up early at 10 a.m. watching this game. Hopefully, we do a repeat of 2016. And we.
Oh yeah.
Well, look, guys. If y'all are available, man, I know we got the Pharaoh Instagram page. If y'all want to, whoever else owns want to add us, we're gonna be live during the game. And if y'all want to come in, pop in and come talk some mess either during halftime or just during the game, feel free to come stop by.
Hit us up.
And just hit us up.
Okay, sounds good.
Let us know for real. Let me get to the chat and then we're gonna close it up. Daniel Kim says Olave is Renfro without hands.
Olave got hands.
All right.
We got Raider fans in here, man. So we gonna talk some mess. Even if it don't make sense. White Tyson, Olave runs backwards faster than Renfro, but Hunter got that dog in him. Okay.
All right.
That's funny.
Ja Raider says Jacobs might get 137 yards, but he might be sore from Texas game. Possibly. Yeah. I mean,
he's hungry.
From the last 3 games, he might be sore.
Yeah. He takes a new contract.
Yeah, he's running for a check right now.
Yeah.
He's saying, what's the IG page so I can drop the link? I think it's Real Fan Sports, right? Simple as that.
Real
right?
Fan Sports.
Yeah.
Real Fan Sports, Dwight Tyson. So if you want to drop the
all
link.
social media, man. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. YouTube, all that.
Facts, man. But I appreciate everybody pulling up today, man. If you guys have any last thoughts, anything you want to tell the chat, the world, like let them know where they can find you.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right. I'll let Nan do the shout out, but I just want to say, hey guys, thank y'all. Appreciate y'all having us on, man. We're glad we were able to make it work. Thank y'all for being nice to me, chat. I see y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. I was worried. I was like, man, I was telling our people, I was like, look, y'all got to come in and at least back me up because our people don't even agree with me, man. I'm all on my island. I'm like, now I'm at a 3-on-1. I'm like, I'm about to get that's a messed up situation. Right. But appreciate y'all, man. For real.
Diego, we don't have OnlyFans. No, you can actually find us, like you said, everything is Real Fan Sports. That's where we do everything. We do reactions and stuff like that. So if you look for like sports reactions, we do sport reactions to sports that's international sports too. If you want to learn about new sports, definitely check out the channel. I mean, we do, like they said, we do a lot of different things. We don't want, like I said, didn't want to make it a central, one team central thing. Just want to talk to different friends from all walks of life, basically.
Yeah, we
like
do.
it.
Most of our shows are mainly like radio shows. We do play-by-play and different things like that. We also have a lot of original content that will be coming out soon, right after the Christmas holidays. We got a lot of really dope, pre-edited, pre-written, scripted things that's going to be coming out. It's going to be fire. We're excited.
That's dope, man. Y'all heard it here first, man. Go ahead, make sure and subscribe to their channel, like their videos. The algorithm is very real. So if you like their videos, it's going to have them keep coming back and keep improving just like us. So make sure to subscribe to our videos. We're gonna
subscribe.
Hit
that like button.
I'm trying to get to 1K, y'all. I'm trying to get to that special number. I think y'all like over 1K at this point, right? 1K.
Yeah. Well, we just hit 1.2 yesterday.
Oh, that's cool,
awesome.
man. That's cool. That's
hey, well, you guys keep putting in the work, man. We love
y'all
it
too.
Hey,
I like it, man. Definitely like chat.
And Raider Nation, we're probably going to have a show later on this week, and be on the lookout for that. We're going to post the links, on socials. You can find me anywhere on Pharaoh NFL, obviously Raider Ray as well. Raider Ray, if you have any last thoughts?
No, man, I just appreciate you guys coming on. I just want to encourage you guys, keep putting in the work.
Yeah, appreciate
keep
y'all
doing what you guys are doing. We appreciate the time that you spent. And hey, man, let's have a good, awesome game. And we'll all definitely get up and we'll talk together again real soon.
Most definitely. Appreciate the invite too. Thank you so much.
All good, man. All right, y'all. Peace, man.
Peace, y'all.
Cheers.
See you guys.
Great Pharaoh. The gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the 5 rivers.
Just win, baby.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.